Was there a time for you guys, like something that I always found hysterical was kind of like the beefs that you got into, like Justin Thomas and like, Bryson and stuff like that. And like Riggs, I've heard you say, how close now you and Justin Thomas are. But do you kind of think like when you guys are recording and stuff, or like Frankie, when you had the thing with Bryson, do you guys in a way, do you kind of forget how big it is to where it's going to get around back to them? And then like you see them on the range, Ian Poulter, stuff like that. Like then you cross paths with these guys. Do you, in a way, is it kind of easy to forget? Like, okay, if we do say something bad about a guy, even though if that's what we really feel, it's going to come back around.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Like
Yeah.
it happens almost every time. A good example is like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I mean, Billy Horschel wins the match play, and then the next week at Augusta, there's a couple clips of him slamming his clubs into his bag, and we went on a 15-minute, sort of tirade about how much of a nut job and lunatic this guy appears to be and how unlikable he is. And then literally the next day, our friend Pat Perez, who's buddies with him, is like, yeah, I was talking with Billy, and he was like, man, they really went in on me, and they're going. So you're thinking like, how the fuck does he know that? I just told my friends, Lurch, Frankie, and Trent about that. But so yeah, you forget that there's a lot of people out there. You forget that like the reason we know JT now is like he got my number and like FaceTime me to kind of chat about stuff, and then ultimately came on the show because the shit that we had said had an impact on sort of, fans and the way that they talk to him. So that's fucking crazy town that's a real thing.
I do think it's to the show's benefit that we sometimes forget how big the platform is,
Totally.
or how big our Twitter followings are, because we'll say some outrageous shit that we probably shouldn't be saying with that big of a platform, but at least it's genuine and it's authentic. Because if you get a big platform like that and then you sanitize everything that you say about every player, about every tournament, it becomes white noise. It becomes like every other show that's out there. So I think forgetting, or even encouraging each other to forget sometimes, just be like, let's just talk like how we would talk if there weren't mics here, if we didn't have this huge Twitter following. It's going to benefit us. Yeah, it's going to get us in some beefs, and there's going to be some players that don't like us, but then that just becomes another storyline, and then we work through that way. Like, I really do think if we got to the point where we're at now and we started to watch what we say and, sanitize it, I think it would hurt the show. So I think in a way it's good to be as outrageous as we are at times.
You know what's funny though, like, because I was looking, into your guys, like the different ones that you had, like with Ian Poulter and stuff like that. You do think though, at the same time, because now, and especially with how ruthless the Barstool fans can be, and it's this younger generation that's coming into golf that's so clear now that, you just have this whole new movement in the golf world. And I think COVID actually helped a lot of that. But if you guys don't like somebody, they almost want to do good by you guys, or even like Bryson, kind of make it right so that they don't have this huge fan base who now dislikes them, to where you kind of, in a way, have the power to where they want to make it right by you guys, as crazy as that may seem.
Yeah, there was a stretch there where people called us like image rehab. That's kind of what they called like foreplay, going on foreplay. Because we had JT when we had been harsh on JT. Then we had Bubba Watson when we had been harsh on Bubba Watson. We had him and Ted Scott on together and pray for Ted Scott, all that stuff. So there was a stretch there where people were referring to us as image rehab. But it's interesting because we're like, we try not to go to, or we don't go to many tour events, and we watch, with a cell phone and a TV, because we largely want to watch it like everybody else does and be able to make our kind of opinions and thoughts on what everybody else sees. So like if we see something on TV and through the coverage and we determine that guy comes off like a real asshole, chances are a lot of people are thinking that. And then if you meet that person and you get to chat with that person, or they get to explain their side of things, you're probably going to think that they're a little better off than you thought they were previously. Like that's just human nature. So yeah, you call it like flip-flopping, and like we make fun of ourselves for that, because when you have people on, you can actually fucking talk through stuff instead of just going off what they decided to show on the coverage. You're going to get more of a full picture, and you're probably going to like people more often, or more than you did before. So that's definitely happened to us, and people can call us flip-floppers for sure. But we've also admitted that, like, yeah, we just changed our minds because the guy came on the show and talked to us.
Yeah, let's call it spade a spade. Once they come on the show, we just suck them off. Like, it's as factual of a statement as I can possibly make. Once they hop on that Zoom, it's like we're best friends. It is what it is. If Ian Poulter comes on the show, we're gonna be rocking the fucking hair. I know you say no, but come on, man. We're all gonna be wearing visors and crazy polka dot pants. You know that.
He's the one guy who I hope I don't flip flop on. I probably will if he comes on the show, but he's the one who I really don't want to, but it'll probably end up happening. Yeah.
No, you know what though? I think they're all at the same time though. If there is a guy that's not going to flip flop though, maybe he'll hold his ground. I think he might.
You might be right.
Yeah.
Right. True.
And
It'd be great. Like he's one of the guests. People ask us a lot. Like, who do you really want on? Who are your top 5? Like Ian Poulter might be.
Good for you.
Obviously, Tiger Woods, filmmaker Sawyer. Ian Poulter would be
Totally.
like number 1. Like we that's the kind of shit that people really want to hear, right? Like there's only so much of like, oh, what club did you hit into 18 there? Were you nervous that you can do? Whereas when you have real raw like personalities, and we got to give Poulter credit, like he's got a personality, right? Like he's polarizing. Europe fucking loves him. A lot of people in America hate him. Like that's awesome. That's good for the game. But we hate him. We don't like him. So I think if we had somebody that we genuinely have not liked, Frankie likes him. But if we had him on for 4 or 5 years of just disdain towards the guy, I imagine it'd be a really good show.